Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome, everyone. This is Brenda Moss, a.k.a. Lady Diva, for Let's Jazz It Up, Blog Talk Radio. I have with me an amazing woman. She is a musical powerhouse. Joyce Spencer. She is an award-winning saxophonist, flutist, vocalist from Dallas, Texas. Welcome, Joyce Spencer.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here with you.
Yeah, sorry about the technical difficulties earlier, but we're back on air with everything intact. Tell briefly about yourself growing up in your hometown of Louisiana. Is that correct?
Yes, small town, Basile, Louisiana, South Louisiana. Right.
Right. So who inspired you on your musical journey? Was there a music artist who first inspired you to do music?
Well, I think my older siblings, I was the youngest of four, and all of my siblings were in the band. And growing up in a small town, you really didn't have much to do.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so I thought, well, I'm going to be in band. Even though I had not any plans to make it a career, I just knew it was something fun to do. So I started on clarinet, and um, a few years after that, our schools integrated, and we moved to another school, and I think that's when I started. Yes, I started playing clarinet then. I still wanted to follow my siblings' footsteps. And well, what is interesting, even though I didn't have any plans to be in music, I still have the little medal I received in my first year in band, outstanding band member. I still have it.
Well,
and
get down.
And then I think in 11th grade, I mean, we have a small band, about 40, 45. That's it, small town. And she needed saxophone players, so I volunteered to play saxophone, and I just loved the instrument. And when I started in college, my first year was in radio and television. I wanted to be an anchor woman, a newscaster, and television talk show host. But I had a music scholarship too, and so I kept going back to music. I was in marching band and jazz band, concert band, and my counselor said, you have to make a decision, and I decided to switch to music. And then a couple of years after that, I added the flute, and I did some vocals in there, but primarily I was an instrumental music major in education too, so music education. And so that's how it all started. I mean, it kind of fast forward through a lot of years there. But after college, I put everything down for about 20 years.
Wow.
And yes.
Wow.
So when I graduated, I think the reality, back then we didn't have the information age in terms of internet services, and to be able to be successful in music at that time, I just felt like I had to sell my soul to do it. And the rejection for a woman holding a horn, I never thought about that, because in my mind I didn't see a problem. I'm playing the saxophone, big deal. But when I really realized that all of the major artists from years before me were all men, and noticed even one of my saxophone instructors had problems with me being a female playing the saxophone, I'm not saying that's a reason to stop, but it's just one of the challenges. And but quite frankly, I stopped because I just needed to eat. You need to get a job. You're out of college and you need to focus. And then I met my wonderful husband, Ladarian, and got married and moved to Texas. Thank you. So that's pretty much it. And when I decided to come back to music, I decided to do it full time and realized I can be independent. And in 2010 is when I came back as a professional artist and decided to basically grab the bull by the horns and just ride it, and because it's something I love to do.
Right. So what college was that that you took up all those degrees? Can you name the college you attended?
Yes. McNeese State University in Lake Charles, Louisiana. And I have a Bachelor of Music Education degree. And my principal instrument, I kept adding. My principal instrument was saxophone, and then I added two. And I also added jazz studies, some theater as well. So it took me forever to get out of college. But I wanted to take advantage of everything that I could during that time because, I had a scholarship, and as long as I remained in the band programs, my tuition was paid. And I wanted to take full advantage of getting as much as I could at the time. So I decided to just, study everything. I mean, I wanted the jazz studies as well. So when Dr. Mahady offered those classes, and I said, I'm in. I want to do it. So learning the theory and et cetera, because, I heard jazz, but I didn't know you could study jazz. It's like blues.
Right.
You grow up with blues, and who studies blues in a college curriculum?
Yeah,
but I think, you know what I mean? Because to me, jazz wasn't something you studied. Classical, because here I am, I'm classically trained, and I was classically trained in terms of my technique and reading music, but the music that I heard growing up was not classical. I heard blues, jazz, R&B, and not necessarily in that order, and also Zydeco. So here I'm in South Louisiana growing up with all this, and then I switch, and I'm playing classical. I'm in Mozart and Bach and Handel and Tchaikovsky. And then I turn around, and I'm in down-home blues.
Right.
So that's what inspired me to name my last album, jazz album, Many Colors, because that's my life. I'm an artist of many colors, of music, that is.
Right. And I was about to ask you the question, how'd you come up with the title of your album, Many Colors, and the actual theme song, Many Colors, because that was the first song I played at the beginning of the show. So you answered my question. So let's talk about your first album, Sweet Dreams. How did that happen? And the 3 other projects you got?
Well, before 2010, I trying to decide which direction I would go as an independent artist. And my husband said, well, let's record an album. I said, okay. I got started. Someone recommended this engineer and totally messed up the album. It was terrible.
Joyce.
It was terrible. And because, while I understand I have a music degree, but I know nothing about recording an album. I don't know what's going on in the studio. So if you tell me, oh, this is okay, when I do the EQing and the mixing, it's going to sound great, then I believe you. So I received the final product, and the best way I can describe it is, you remember cassette recorders? And you record music with a cassette and play it back, it sounded like that.
Wow.
And though I understand that you will always hear something better or maybe a little less, I think that there is a line that you should try to get your music to make it acceptable for purchase. And when I heard it, I just sat there and I was blown away, just totally upset. So my husband said, we're going to start again. And I went, oh, my God, start all over again.
Yeah.
All what I went through, and he said, we just have to start over again. So a friend of mine recommended a studio, but I was really hands-on this time. I walked in with charts. I picked the musicians, and I basically produced my own CD and found out that is so amazingly challenging. You have expectations. You send the music, come on in. This is what we're going to do for this amount of money, and not ready at all. So I'm always having to make decisions. What do I do? I just make this easier. Let me do this. Well, and it was just constant. Meanwhile, it's costing me